We're visiting with Phil Bess. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Let's move on.
Okay.
I am very, very happy about what we're doing with the former First National Bank building. We're going to house in that place the Georgia Military College, am I correct?
That's correct.
And I know you shared with me a little bit the genesis of how we were able to get that institution here in Dublin. But could you make a comment or two regarding that?
Be glad to. It's, you know, a lot of people say this is cliche, but let me start by saying this, it's teamwork. That's how we did it. I have a good friend and business associate that we do a lot of work for, Mr. Mike Couch in Milledgeville, Georgia. He is the executive director of the redevelopment authority of Central State Hospital property. That's over there, about 2,100 acres, as you know, that had a mass exodus in mental health facilities.
Correct.
He is very involved in the community and said, you know, Phil, y'all need to talk to General Bill Caldwell, who is the president of GMC. And so I said, that'd be great. I said, let's try to get him by. I said, would you bring him over here? And he said, yeah. So a week or two was scheduled by. And at the end of the day, Mike called and said, I'll be coming with Bill and one of his associates, President Caldwell. So what I did was gather the team. I had someone from economic development, from both school systems, county and city schools, and Trinity, the Chamber of Commerce, the city, the county, probably about 20 people.
Wow.
I'd never told the general what we were doing. So they came to our office on Madison Street first, and it was a lunch date. So the 20 people or thereabouts, the Downtown Development Authority was well involved in it. They were sitting at the table in the side room at Dino's, and I said, well, let's walk over and have lunch at Dino's. When we walked over, they were there waiting on us. And I started introducing him to the group and them to him and who they were with and who they worked with. And then we went around the table and everybody basically said, whatever we need to do from our standpoint to help you get here. We didn't even know a building at the time. Didn't know where they would be or how they would be here. We just knew that they would be in Dublin. I wanted them to be in Dublin. Then when we were walking back, I just said, there's your building right there. And one thing led to another. We got our groups together. Mr. Jim Walters, who I don't know if you know or not, but Jim Walters owns that entire block. And there's not enough we can say in this show good about him for what he's done for this community from Gainesville, Georgia. But one thing led to another, and Mike Couch called me back on his way back to Milledgeville, or when he dropped the general off, and he said, y'all got a school.
Well, you know, I appreciate your effort at humility, and you've done well there. It was teamwork, but that teamwork had to be orchestrated, and you orchestrated that as the mayor, and I'd like to congratulate you on that.
Well, I appreciate that, but I was just a good cheerleader.
We are going to show you historic sites of that First National building. TV 35 will show that. The mayor will electronically send some photos for you. But I think that's a fascinating development because with the Georgia Military College in Dublin, along with Middle Georgia College, or is it called Middle Georgia University? Middle Georgia University, we are fast becoming a college town.
Right.
And we know that college towns have a great deal of intellectual vitality. College towns bring in new cultural attractions and economic flow. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And especially, I think, GMC Dublin is which this campus will be called, and Middle Georgia University, the leadership of those two colleges have already been communicating about how they can help each other and enhance each other's services rather than competing with each other. And Oconee Fall Line Technical College has been a big supporter of this. So I think it's more about everyone trying to come together and do the thing. The great thing about GMC, not only is it going to be downtown and you're going to have 250 some odd students downtown, but kids that would not normally get a chance to go to college are going to have a real good chance at GMC because there's no SAT required. What you have to have is a high school diploma or a GED, and they will get you in and get you tested and get you in the right direction. They've also got reciprocal agreements with many of the other colleges in the state that their associate's degree, all of the credits will transfer to these other schools. So where, in essence, bigger than the building, bigger than anything else, is we're educating our community.
And that's a great thing.
Yes.
And that's a major thing for a city. For me, I'm just glad we're doing something with that building.
Me too. Oh, absolutely.
Wow. I came to Dublin in 2007. I saw that albatross of a building, and I thought to myself, that stands out. And so now that building that stands out will be filled in, and it'll stand out.
It's going to stand out, but in a pretty way.
In a beautiful way.
And I think I would be remiss if I didn't commend Charlie Garbett, the general contractor on the job, because as others may know, Charlie's been working on a project, trying to get a project in that building for 15 years.
And how was that company selected?
Mr. Walters is actually a private owner, and Mr. Walters selected Garbett Construction Company to do the work.
And are you at liberty to talk about the funding for that project?
Be glad to.
Please do.
The thing that made the project work money-wise were the historical tax credits. You first had to get it on the historical register.
But the building had been on the historical register, had it not?
Not at that point.
Oh, not at that point, okay.
So what our Downtown Development Authority and, again, another person on this team, Joshua Kite, who is the DDA director and attorney downtown in the Fred Roberts building, Joshua orchestrated the whole putting together of the historical tax credits.
By getting the building on the historical landmark.
Well, we had to get a historical tax credit consultant and an architect that was familiar with that to work on the team with us to make it where the tax credits would be available.
Correct.
Because if that's a $3.75 million construction project, there's no way you could charge enough rent to cash flow that. So what happened is the historical tax credits that the owner will be able to sell.
Correct, yes.
Brought the cost of the construction down enough that it made it a cash flowing proposition. Now I will tell you that I'm sure Mr. Walters has many more projects that will cash flow a lot better than this one, but he just knew we had a love for the community and a love for the building, and he's a big part of that happening.
Well, we are appreciative of Mr. Walters and Mr. Garbett, and we're appreciative of your leadership and all of the individuals that you put together to make that an impressive sale.
Guys, we know what it's like. Good people like you find themselves in situations like this all the time. Baby, when you were young, your father lost his job, and we found ourselves in the same situation that you guys are in right now. It was the hardest time of our lives, but a friend of the family recommended Lumen Earl.
Lumen Earl helped us out years ago, and he'll help you too.
Lumen Earl, solving people's financial problems for over 30 years. Call today for your free consultation.
I'd like to segue into another matter that reflects the best of Dublin, but is very dear to my heart. We are visiting with the Honorable Mayor of Dublin, Phil Bess, and we're glad to have you on our show at home in Dublin with Ricky Porter. As you know, I'm a religious professional, and my church is located on the south side. I had Scott Thompson on the show some time back, and he was liked by our viewers because Scott was so knowledgeable, or is so knowledgeable about our city. Yeah. But he was particularly knowledgeable about the African American presence in Dublin and the African American historic communities like the South Side and Scottsville and Telfair. The MLK corridor, which is located in what we might call the South Side, since I've been here in Dublin, has grown significantly. It is aesthetically quite pleasing with the clock, the tower, and now with the development of new businesses such as Dollar General, the location of the Dublin City Police Department. I'd like for you to share with our viewers the mindset, the planning that went into the deliberate and intentional nature of the MLK corridor, its development, and the economic impact on the South Side community.
Okay. Well, it was very deliberate. Our city council had a vision, and they saw that vision out, and we did it with several different tools. A good friend of mine who was the mayor of Hinesville, Georgia, Tom Ratcliffe, told me probably 12 or 15 years ago, private investment follows public investment.
Yeah, I've heard you say that before. Say a little bit more about that.
Well, if a private investor is about to invest money into a community,
correct,
or into an area, he wants to see that the public's willing to invest in that too. So the city council, we could have put that city police station about anywhere, but it was purposely put where it is to create an atmosphere of public investment.
And public confidence.
And public confidence. Right, piggybacking on that, we created the enterprise zone and the MLK corridor zone. What I'd love to do is show you some pictures, and I know TV35 has seen these pictures and probably have them on file, but even the area where our premier's office is, that whole area was dilapidated.
Is that what you call gentrified, when an area gets dilapidated and worn down? That's called gentrified.
And it's just totally amazing. The first step, going back to Mr. Walters,
correct,
he leased us that parking lot property for $1 for 30 years, so which enabled us to invest the money in the storm drain and the parking area, which then enticed him into fixing his buildings and to buy the skyscraper. So
it's a domino effect.
That's a domino effect. It's true public-private partnership.
Well, did you have a designer to come in and to talk about where the clock would go and how the lamp, the street lighting would look? Who came up with those ideas?
A lot of our staff here in the City of Dublin's engineering department, now they had consultants from time to time on different issues, but for the most part, our city engineering department did a lot of that. The clock was part of our signature, that along with the plaza.
Part of the bicentennial.
Which was a gathering of the community. Actually, the founder came and got on spot at the farmer's market and made the bell right here over a 3-day period. And
wow.
See the different stages of it. So it's just been an intended effort.
Well, I think, and many of us will agree. I like this word amelioration, but you've made better the appearance of that spot. And it's important because when citizens from the state of Georgia, people nationally, are coming through on the 16, and they're going to stop in Dublin, they're going to exit 54.
Right.
That's going to be 19 South.
Right.
And so we've done quite well there. Phil, you have been the mayor of Dublin since 1999.
2000, actually.
Oh, 2000 actually. Well, we want to, okay. And then prior to becoming mayor, you served on the city council for 6 years.
That's correct.
Say something about your greatest sense of achievement in terms of contributions to the Phil Best legacy. Now, I know you don't think in this context because that's not your style. You just want to roll your sleeves up and get your work done. But I see the MLK corridor as being very significant, but I've only been in Dublin about 7 or 8 years. In your tenure as mayor, and you may include even your tenure as a city council person, what are some of the great achievements that have happened to make our city better and more attractive?
You know, I just really, man, that's hard.
That's hard, yeah.
I mean,
but the MLK corridor would be in that top.
Well, that and the bill, but you know, more so than a tangible thing you can see, I think if anything, I have helped with collaboration. I think that I'd rather us all figure out a way we can do things than why we can't do things.
Oh, very good.
And I think that's more, if I have a gift, a God-given gift, maybe that's it. I don't know. But our city councils, and several have served in that period of time, Julie Drigger and Gary Johnson are the only two council members that are on there from the original time that I became a city council member. So everybody else has changed. We've been through several different people, but you can disagree, but you got to respect each other, and you have to respect each other's thoughts, and you have to respect each other's ideas, and you have to work together. And that's maybe if I've done anything, we've been able to keep that, because if you're not getting along, that wouldn't be happening.
You know, TV 35 has a very attentive audience and a very smart audience, and I think that they will discern your response. You did not point to a material, tangible thing that shows the achievements of your legacy. You pointed to something that has spiritual quality. You pointed to something that has metaphysical kinds of implications. The capacity of men and women to get along.
Yeah, absolutely.
The willingness of brothers and sisters, regardless of their color, to collaborate and to dialogue and to make decisions, even though we might disagree.
That's right.
I think that's
Absolutely.
Excellent.
And your county officials, and I mean, if so many communities in Georgia, the cities and the counties don't get along, I can't imagine that here. I mean, and George Roussel and Brian Rogers were a big part of that too.
George Roussel, our former city manager.
Right.
I think we all want to know how George is doing.
He's doing fine. I wish he'd get another job. He's aggravating me to death. He'd call you about 10 o'clock in the morning. What you doing?
George has been a great contributor to our city.
Oh, yeah.
And been one of those persons who have welcomed me here also quite well.
When my husband experienced chest pain, I knew he had to go to the ER at Fairview Park Hospital because it had an accredited chest pain center. Chest pain isn't like a broken arm or a high fever. They treat chest pain like the serious condition it is, and they treat it fast. And it was a good thing we knew the difference because my husband was in cardiac arrest.
Oh, I was fine.
Now he is.
Treat chest pain like chest pain. Choose the ER at Fairview Park Hospital.
We are at home in Dublin with Ricky Porter. TV 35 has deliberately organized this show because we think Dublin is an attractive place. Savannah, great. Macon, great. Atlanta, wonderful. But Dublin, this is the place. A place where there's a little bit of Irish in all of us. We're going to be winding down soon, but before we do, I would like for you to say something about the Dublin Lawrence Museum. Now, I didn't actually prep you for this question, but I visited with Scott Thompson, the director of the new museum, the Dublin Lawrence Museum and Cultural Heritage Center, and we also visited with the Catherine Clark, who owned the press. I got to get this correct now. Catherine is going to be watching this show. The Pritchett or Clark House. I got it right, Catherine. The Pritchett or Clark House. I visited with Catherine Clark and Scott Thompson. We regard the Dublin Lawrence Museum, now located in the Pritchett or Clark House, having been moved from the building that was donated by the Carnegie family. We believe that this is a great attraction for Dublin. If citizens are coming from other cities and they're visiting Savannah, we say, come to Dublin. We have something worthy for you. If people are coming into Atlanta, traveling through Macon, we think that there's a nice stopover in Dublin that'll be worthy of your time if you're interested in cultural kinds of developments and historical kinds of concerns. I'd like for you to speak to this notion that the Dublin Lawrence Museum, Cultural Heritage Center, is a place worthy for people to travel and visit, not just our citizens, but the surrounding area as well.
Well, of course I do.
Of course
I
you
think
do.
It's and Scott Thompson. I mean, there's no one like him in this community, or that I know of anywhere. Scott's heart and soul has been in capturing and in saving the historical
Landmarks.
and just items of the community.
Correct.
And he's been doing that for a long time at a lot of his own expense and a lot of time and effort.
Correct.
The move to the Miss Clark's house, I think, was just a great thing. It just she made it possible. I mean, without her kind heart, it would have never happened. I think what it did too was maybe that when the museum was in the Carnegie Library, and I know I pronounce it different.
Correct.
It became as my good friend Jeff Davis says, it became the community's attic.
Oh.
And it's kind of funny. He said, when they were cleaning it out, they had the 1998 third place trophy for the wrestling team in there. And he said, and I was on the team, and I didn't even care about keeping that, So, I mean, it had just become...
Correct, right.
And now what they're doing, what it's done is giving us a fresh look. And
Correct. And it's opening up the museum, first of all, being on Bellevue.
Right.
For the local citizens is making it more appealing.
And there's something to interest everyone in there. There's so much history that involves more than just Lawrence County here in sports. And the building I'm in is owned by Mr. Cummings. He was the...
and by the building you're talking about your company, Premier.
My company, that's right. That's Kids So Sweet Bakery and the loft apartments are in. That was Mr. Cummings, and he was a developer that was creating the first African-American business district. And they've got information about that in there. They've got the Tuskegee Airmen. They've got the sports stars that have played in colleges and pros. I mean, there's a lot of good information there that folks don't realize came out of Lawrence County.
Well, I'm looking forward to visiting it. I have not. I've been in that home many times. Catherine Clark is a very dear friend of mine, but I've not been in it since it has become the museum.
You need to.
I shall.
You really need.
Actually, I spoke with our producers at TV35 about taking our cameras in there and showing it off. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been visiting with Phil Best, the Honorable Mayor of Dublin, and it has been exciting. I'd like to give you an opportunity to directly face the camera and say a word as the mayor to our citizens. But before you do, let me say this. I usually ask my guests a question about what they regard as the best of Dublin. If they were to point out the apex of our cultural highlight, what would that be? And almost uniformly, they've responded, the people of Dublin. Now, that's not to get you to say the same thing, but I want you to share in your words as the Honorable Mayor, and I don't say that in jest. I think you have done a great job. I'm very pleased with our civic leadership. But we're going to give you an opportunity to face our audience and to say something to encourage them and their walk as citizens. And we encourage you to respond. Let us know. Telephone us here at TV35. Email us here at TV35. Do whatever you can. We want to hear from you. If I haven't asked a question that you think has been pertinent, let us know. If you have a comment to this show, let us know. We care. So,
I'm not copying, but the people are it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I guess if I want to say anything to the audience today, this is for real. It's been an honor and a pleasure serving as the mayor of this community. I'm very humbled by it. I take it very seriously. I don't take the responsibility lightly, and I want to see us. There's so many things that have been done prior to my becoming mayor or the people that are in leadership now that the foundation was laid. All we got to do is keep the ball rolling. And in order to do that, we all need to get along and talk and be honest and candid with each other. And that's all I ask is if you ever need me, call me. I won't say we'll agree or disagree, but call and we'll certainly talk.
thank you very much, Phil.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Enjoy.
Thank you for being with us at Home in Dublin with Ricky Porter, TV35.